Welcome back to another episode of Tommy's Trading Post. In this episode, we'll go through all of May and go through the data in terms of what sold, how many things sold, etc., all of the expenses. I have a new setup that I'm going to do to go through all of this. And then a few things at the end that I want to go through is my newsletter and then just an update in terms of listings. But let's get into it. So getting into the new recap here, as you can see, I have a new kind of outline of how I'm going to do this. Instead of showing you just my Notion page and kind of how I keep track of things, I'm going to show you this little presentation that I put together. Hopefully it's a little bit easier to understand and just grasp. And I think I'm going to do this moving forward. But let alone, let's dive into it. As you can see, this is the May 2026 recap. And just for the numbers right off the rip, we had roughly close to 1,300 cards sold, close to 4,000 in gross sales. So if you remember, that's a little bit of a dip, but we'll dive into it. 301 total orders, and then 215 total buyers. As we get into the numbers a little bit here, so as you can see, gross sales down a little bit from April. April was definitely a higher month. I think it was the first time we passed 4K. We had a lot less sold in terms of cards. So again, down close to 14%, but up in terms of my average or 6-month average. The one thing that I didn't say at the beginning is the fact that this is kind of when I was moving. So I moved at the end of May into obviously June. And we saw a little bit of an impact from that in terms of me turning the store kind of off. I still accepted orders, but I was away, wasn't shipping, I wasn't updating listings as much. So kind of expected a down month in May. But we did have more orders, which is cool to say. We had a little bit down in terms of average cards per order. This is something new that I'm tracking that is definitely very impactful for what I do. We like to see this a little bit above 5 is where I would like to be. But on average, we're kind of around this 4 area, as you can see, a little bit down from April. The gross was up in terms of per card. We had some singles that I sold for collectors that I'm connected with, but also just on eBay that kind of rose that. And then a little bit down in terms of the gross per order. As you can see with this being the average cards being down, I kind of expected this a little bit. Getting into where the money went. So this is a lot more on the expenses side of things. So obviously gross sales, we had eBay fees around 600, shipping labels around 720, refunds, which is also shipping discounts around 150, shipping materials, some software stuff, kept materials. The big thing here, as you can see, is the office trickle. Again, setting up this big office that I am in currently. There were a lot of new things that I needed to buy and wanted to buy that went from kind of the end of May into, the end of May into June. So we'll see a little bit of that in terms of when we review June. And then cards purchased, I definitely did not purchase that many cards in April. I'm definitely a little bit low and I need to grab some, especially the vintage. So there was only around 400, 500 cards that I bought. Some of that was from a collector that came and visited me, but overall definitely down. So our net profit raw is what we're kind of tracking this as, is close to 1,700, which is the most that I've done by a mile. But the one thing that that I'm kind of tracking now is you can see this normalized number. So what I'm trying to do is understand cost of goods sold. That is tough when I buy big collections, or I buy collections where I have some cards that might be worth 10 cents and some that might be worth, $20. I struggle to kind of get a cost of goods sold across the board. So I'm normalizing that a little bit at 30%. And then as you can see, so my normalized net profit would be 981, putting in the cost of goods sold there. Which is still really strong. It's the strongest, as you can see, strongest normalized month yet, even ahead of April. So with that being said, I still feel really good. We sold less cards, but in terms of our net profit, we are up. You can kind of see the past 6 months here. So what you'll see here is the total in terms of gross sales, but then you'll see also the cards sold. So this is the past 6 months. So you can see we're kind of on an upward trajectory. Again, May was down. I kind of expected that. But overall, I feel pretty good with how things are going. We're selling more cards, even, you're going back to December here, and we had 962 versus on a down-ish month, close to 1,300 in May. And then you can see, again, the gross here is kind of a little bit up and down. I still feel really good. January is a hot month for me. But overall, looking even at a larger range of data, this is definitely way up. Looking at what I did, last year around this time is pretty crazy. It's probably triple, if not more than that, in terms of gross sales and cards sold. And that's kind of what you can see here. So you can see this is since the beginning, which I thought was a cool graphic to have. You can see all the way through to where I am now, a nice trajectory upwards. Overall, again, this kind of year so far has been really solid. But then you look at where I made a few changes. I got some more modern cards around here. I added different strategies in terms of shipping, combining, etc. right here in July and discounts, I believe. And you can see how it shot up in terms of gross sales. I remember back at this time, July, August of last year, I thought this was the most that I would be able to do. And then you shoot forward and you can see that we're pretty much double from where I blew up or expanded a ton. So it's just kind of cool to see what compounding can do over time and just getting better systems and being able to do things more efficiently, etc. This is an interesting snapshot that I wanted to continue to track, but also show is just the bundling story. So you can see here on the left-hand side is how many cards per order, or how many orders had, one card, 2 to 3, 4, 5, etc. Again, this is where we want to be. I had in April that was really high in terms of the percentage of people ordering 5 or more cards. And so that was kind of an outlier. I believe I'm around that kind of 20 to 30% range, which is where I want to be. And it's just interesting to see how many people buy 1 card, and then, the 2 to 3 and 4 is pretty low, and then you get to 5 and that's the big shoot up. Again, it has to do with the discounts that I give and the shipping, etc. So this is a bigger portion that I'm going to continue to track. Getting into top sellers for this past month in terms of the cards. So no shock here. Blue Series 1 is still up there. Orange Series is definitely up there. A lot of this I just can't get enough of in terms of stock. I'm constantly selling them and I'm constantly running out, and it's hard to find good ones at a good cost. There's just not that many quality Series 5s that I feel like other collectors would want, so it's not worth me purchasing them. But you can see 1977s kind of were the big piece across the board. And then we get into some 2022 Galaxy inserts and refractors, and then an ESB Series 3, which I did get a lot more cards of, so I've been able to stock that a lot more. And then you can see the singles. Some of these are singles. So this one was 3 different cards. It was, I think, like 2... Actually, I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it was like 2 or 3 Lukes, if I remember correctly. We have some Galaxy cards. So this was 3 different Lukes for 319. This is 2025 Chrome Galaxy. Again, I got a good amount of these, some number cards in, and so sold a bunch of those. This was 1 order. It's not just 1 card for 2 Lukes and I think 1 corrected version of the 207 C3PO. Some Galaxy cards from 2021. I sold, I believe, 3 to 1 collector right away, and then there's been a few that have come through in terms of the Kurosawa, a Lily Among Thorns with Padme, and then I think 1 Anakin base as well. And then 2018 Topps Galaxy, is another one of the, I believe it was a Padme, a Lily Among Thorns, if I remember correctly. So just an easier way to see things. Again, vintage being the massive player here, and all of these are you pick listings. My modern does decently well, but it's definitely like the refractors or the inserts, things that are harder to grab. Overall, so this is a who's buying. Something, again, that I'm tracking a little bit more of is the buyers that buy from me, whether they're repeat buyers or more loyal customers, or just people coming and grabbing 1 card and leaving, or getting an auction, and there are people that don't really follow me. So as you can see, we had a lot more unique buyers this past month in May. Multi-order buyers was down a good amount. Again, I think the end of May kind of impacted that in terms of me shutting down the store a little bit, but also I ran a little bit more auctions. Is kind of some of the things that I think impacted this number. And then repeat buyers from April that also bought in May is 12.6. It's definitely lower end, as you can see here. I'm normally, I believe, around like the 15 to 18 mark here, which is really cool that a lot of collectors continually come back to me month over month. You can see the bigger picture. We've had close to 1,500 unique buyers. Close to 30% of those have bought more than once, which is wild to me. I didn't think that many people would be repeat buyers. You can see that 60% of the revenue comes from people from that 30%, which is wild. And then there's 87 regulars. So these are the people that come back to me a lot. A bunch of them I know by their eBay username and their name. It's people that I talk to frequently and that have bought from me and have visited me, etc. Which is really the core audience that I love to interact with. From buying cards that they don't need anymore, from making sure I'm looking out for cards that they need, etc. And then this is kind of just the overall big picture here. in May. So again, close to 4K. We have 6 straight months of near 4K in terms of gross, which is amazing. Our net profit, which is the real net profit, again using 30% COGS, 981. And then we had, a little bit lower in terms of cards sold, a little bit lower in terms of the amount, orders were definitely up. You can see here what it defined the month. So best raw net on record. Again, that was the 1600, 1700, but again, I didn't buy as many cards, so that's definitely a little bit skewed. There were a lot of singles that helped out. Again, I got 2021 Chrome Galaxy cards in that were a big piece of the singles doing well. I sold some Lukes. There were some 2018 Galaxies. And then Modern keeps validating is what I have here. And really what it is it's the refractors and inserts of the Galaxy cards that do really well. When I get those in, I list them, they go pretty quick. Especially 2022 is definitely a hotter year from what I've seen. And then carrying into June, some big things that I'm working on, right, is restock what's selling. So I definitely have some cards to buy. I need to kind of watch, what I have here is watch the basket size. What I mean by that is just continually make sure that the average amount of cards in an order is not dropping. It's nice to be able to sell singles, but my big thing, obviously I'm selling lower end, is when people buy a lot more cards, they add a bunch to their basket and purchase that way, or if it's a collector reaching out and they have a bunch that they need to complete sets, etc. And then retention, again, is the amount of repeat buyers. The big thing here is making sure that stays up, making sure that I'm just reaching out to people, making sure that I'm building new connections that buy from May to June, etc. Again, the big thing, or the big reason I do this is for the collectors and just the community aspect. And I want people to feel like they can continually come back to me for, 1 card, 2 cards, or just even talk and have some messages back and forth. So this is kind of the new way that I'm doing the reviews of the past month. Let me know if you guys like this more, if you liked it when it was in Notion where I was kind of clicking around a little bit more, but this is the big change that I did, and I think it'll help kind of track things for myself, but also give you guys a little bit of a bigger picture of what I'm looking at and kind of the trend of building Tommy's Trading Post. So let's get into the newsletter right about now, and we'll talk about why I want to highlight that and some fun things that I'm doing with it. So diving into the newsletter, what I'm going to do is show you just some example newsletters that I send out on an occasional basis, depending on if it's listing related, or a bi-weekly newsletter that I send out with kind of news and updates for Tommy's Trading Post. So this is one example of a listings update newsletter that I sent out to my subscribers. I think there's 15 or 16 at the moment. And so what I do is when I get cards in, the one thing that I want to do is alert people who are, loyal to Tommy's Trading Post or are fans of it, or, people that I interact with consistently. I want those people to be able to grab the cards that they really need or want, especially when it comes to, cards that are more sought after. Like the Series 5 is one where if I get those in, I'm letting people know, hey, I have a bunch of these cards from Series 5. I'm going to get them up. Are there any that you're specifically looking for? If not, it's fine. I'll send you the link in here, and it'll be able to you'll be able to go there and buy the cards you want. If there are ones, I will set those aside for collectors. So if somebody needs, a number 292 from Series 5 and a few others, I will set those aside. I won't list them, and then I can be able, or I'll reach out to them and be like, hey, I have your cards, here they are, and then sell them that way. So this is really more of a collector-focused thing. Again, I want collectors who follow me that are, more loyal, that enjoy what I do and like the store and like myself. I want them to be able to grab the cards first. So by alerting them that, I'm uploading all of these and I got a bunch of these up on the listing, they're able to grab them before, other people kind of snipe them. So this is just an example of what one would look like. So I had, a good stock of 1977s come in. What I did is just did a link straight to all of the 77 listings. If it's specific listings, like again, Series 5, Series 2, etc., I'll separate them so you can go directly there. But this one was a big stock of just a lot of the 1977s. So I wanted them to be able to go and grab whatever. And then it always has like, hey, I'm adding consistent updates to these listings, whether it's new singles, lots, auctions. It's something that I continually push to my collectors. And if they, are looking at what I might have up for auction this week, they can easily see it when I do a listing update newsletter. The next one is a bi-weekly. So what this is the Cantina Dispatch. So I do a bi-weekly kind of just news and less like pushy in terms of an email, or less about just my listings or just Tommy's Trading Post, and more about Star Wars cards in general. So this is an example from June 7th. And what it showcases here is it's talking about how Masterwork is out in terms of the new Masterwork cards. The Mall Topps cards were, or Topps Now cards were out as well. So it mentions some of that. And then it dives a little bit deeper into just what's going on in terms of Star Wars cards. So it talks about Masterworks. It talks about Maul, the Shadow Lord, a little bit. I do feature listings, so sometimes these are new listings that I'm getting up. Sometimes it's listings that I've had that I just restocked. Sometimes it's listings I've had that didn't have a lot of cards, and so I'm adding a bunch to it, and I'll just feature a listing here. So as you can see, this is right around the time I got the 2021 Chrome Galaxy base card. So I was like, hey, just so you all know, I got some new 2021 Topps Chrome Galaxy base cards. If this is something you're looking for, they can go straight to it. I talk a little bit about what's new at Tommy's Trading Post. So like I was working on expanding the U-Pick lineup in terms of the different sets that I offer for that. I was talking about how my May recap video is in progress. We're getting to that now a little bit later in June. And then we talked about Collectors Corner. So this is resources that I have built that are for collectors. So in this one, we're highlighting the 1980 ESB tracking sheets that you can download and print off, or download and just use to track your collection of the 1980 ESB cards. But I have a bunch of different ones, whether it's supplies, whether it's checklists, etc. I have a bunch of different resources, so I just highlight those in case people don't know about them. And that's pretty much it. So this is really the big thing that I talk through in terms of what cards are, or excuse me, what I'm sending in terms of newsletters. It's something that I really like doing, and it's a way to build the community a little bit more, I feel like. But yeah, that's kind of the newsletter setup. If you want to subscribe, you can go to my website, tommystradingpost.com, with hyphens in between Tommy's trading and post. The link will be below as well, and you can sign up there. You do get a discount on your first order after using a coupon code when you sign up. But I send out newsletters every now and then. The Cantina Dispatch is bi-weekly, and then the listing updates is just when I have listing updates. So that is the Trading Post newsletter. It's something I'll continue to build out. But now let's get into an update about one specific listing that I have. So diving in really quick into the listing update that I wanted to share just in this video is 2024 Topps Chrome base cards. I have had this listing up forever, but I believe I only had like 20 or 15 cards on it. And now it is completely updated. There is every single card that is in here, you are able to purchase from the 2024 Topps Chrome. It's a set that I now have a decent amount of stock in, so even if some go, there should be some that I can get up. If you're looking for specific base cards, please let me know and reach out, whether it's through a form on the website or directly to me. But this is just one that I've had on there for a while. I've had people ask about, and I just haven't had the cards, so I wanted to do a quick update here in terms of, hey, I have this. It's definitely fully stocked now. It's a lot different than what it used to be. So that's the quick update there. The next thing that I want to get into real quick is just the idea that I do buy cards from collectors. I do have a form on the website where you can submit kind of what you have, what you're looking to get for it, pictures, etc. I found that this is a great way for collectors who are trying to upgrade the cards that they have to better condition, or they have a bunch of cards that they just don't really want anymore. I'm totally open to having a discussion around, hey, what do you have and what could I pay for it? Obviously, I might not be as high in terms of what I would pay for it if you would throw it up compared to throwing it up on eBay. But I've had a few collectors, even the collector that came to the office recently, brought a bunch of cards. I looked through them. He definitely didn't want them anymore, and I paid him, and he was able to get some cards that he did need from that as well when he was here. It's just something I wanted to make sure was known, is the fact that I do purchase cards from collectors. If you have a bunch, if you have a few, etc., go over to my website. There is a sell your collection piece up at the top. It's also linked throughout the website. Fill out a form, or if you think that's way too much, you can either reach out to me directly, whether it's through email, whether it's through Instagram DMs, etc. I'm definitely always looking to buy cards. I can't promise I will buy all of the cards or I'll have the best price for you, but it's something that I really want to make sure people know that I do, because a lot of collectors out there just throw stuff up and maybe they don't get the best price, or they just keep the cards stored away. And if there are cards out there that people don't want, I want to be the place to go where they can sell them, and then I can push them to other people that want singles or a few cards here and there, instead of needing to buy a full collection just for a few cards that they want. That's a big reason why I do what I do, and I've mentioned it a lot, is being able to buy collections and then kind of piece them out to the people that want specific cards. So that is something I wanted to highlight real quick. But with that, that's the end of this episode of Building Tommy's Trading Post. Thank you very much for all of the support. I say that all the time, but it's been really cool to see, a few comments, some subscriptions here and there. It's just been a really fun thing, and I'm working to get these out sooner, and it'll be more of a focus of mine moving forward. But thanks again, and I hope you guys tune in for the next episode when we go over how June did and any new things from there. So see you in the next one.